Hello everyone, I'm James Manus, Mount Juliet Vice Mayor and District 2 City Commissioner. Tonight I'll be continuing my talks about our issues with passing the city budget. So today I'm going to go over a couple different funds in the budget and how the city of Mount Juliet is different than virtually every other city in regards to how it funds fire protection in its budget. I'll be throwing around some numbers, but I'm going to be using the numbers in the budget as they are today. Once the budget is passed, they're sure to be slightly different than what they are today. But as for now, I'll be using the numbers as they are shown in the budget currently. So let's jump in. The city has several different budget funds. Some are required by state law to be separated from the general fund, but today I'm going to be focusing on just two of the funds, the general fund itself and the emergency services fund. The general fund is where the majority of the day in and day out business of the city occurs. About half the funds come from local option sales tax. And of course, this is one reason to always shop Mount Juliet first and why it's so important. The rest of the funds come from 77 other different budgeted sources. Now, from the general fund itself, you're going to see things funded out of it, such as public works, police, parks, planning, codes, general government, and all these things. These are all funded from the General Services Fund. Many of the other services that you can think of, such as the brush truck, dispatch, animal control, they all fall under these departments. However, there's one thing you will notice missing: the fire department. And just to be clear, I don't know of another city that does not fund its fire department out of the general fund. So let's examine the other fund, the Emergency Services Fund. The primary funding source is property tax for the Emergency Services Fund. It has some other services such as insurance collection and fire impact fees that make up the funding of the service, but the property tax is by far the largest contributor. This fund itself is 100% dedicated to fire protection. Every penny of property tax collected goes to fire protection. So what's the budget issue? Currently, the Emergency Services Fund has a $300,000 shortage in one of the funds it requires to operate the fire department. Now compare that with the fund we just looked at before, the general fund. That has an almost $3.7 million surplus. Remember from the first video where I said I would offer some simple solutions? I don't think you need to be a genius to see the answer to the budget problem. And also, what you see here is the very reason a tax increase was proposed. When you can't fund the fire services because of a board-introduced budget practice, this setup is, of course, set up by the choice of the Board of Commissioners. With the funds separated, cutting cost in the general fund does nothing to increase the available funds available to fire protection. We can't ask the question as to which is more important to the citizens. Cutting something from the general fund, it just simply won't make it to the Emergency Services Fund. Fire service gets held hostage by the available funds in the emergency services, while there is a surplus at the same time sitting in the general fund. We must have a budget system where we as commissioners can prioritize spending. Ask yourself this in your personal budget. Would you pay your cable bill if you didn't have the money to pay your electric bill? We have to be able to decide needs versus wants as a city and cut the wants when we can't afford the needs. In 2017, I introduced legislation to combine the two funds. It failed due to lack of support. So today I suggest a different model to that. Let's keep the property tax continually dedicated to the Emergency Services Fund. Now let's move the cost of fire protection over to the general fund where there's a surplus. And then let's just simply transfer the funds out of the Emergency Services Fund to the general fund to cover the cost of fire protection. If there's not enough funds in the Emergency Services Fund to cover the cost of fire protection, let's let the 78 other funds make up the difference. We can instill doing this ensure that every single penny of property tax used is used only for fire protection, and we can fund the fire service we now have in place. Let's make these simple changes to the budget, and let's get the thing passed. And let us for certain take the option of laying firefighters off. Let's get this option off the table. Let's move forward, fund the fire services we have now, and pass a budget. I'm going to continue recording future videos on this subject. If you find this information useful, share this video. Leave your comments and questions below. And let's continue to look at these subjects. I have a lot more to say about this in the coming days. And of course, as always, I want to thank you and everyone out there for letting me serve the city of Mount Juliet.